Hi, kids, teenagers, grown-ups, everyone. Today is the first Sunday in Lent, and one way of thinking about Lent is that it is a Christian practice of marking these 40 days before Easter as a special time to let go of any habits, ways of being, ways of living that distance us from God or distance us from being the kind, open-hearted, creative, generous, loving people that we are called to be. And we have all given up a lot this past year already, haven't we? Really important things we've given up, like time with friends and extended family, holiday traditions, vacations, activities, so many different things we've given up. I could go on and on of how our ways of living have changed drastically this past year. But for Lent, I'm going to suggest that for these 40 days, that you give up one more thing. And for some of us, it's a big thing, a deeply ingrained habit. I suggest that you give up criticizing yourself. Mean thoughts that you're dumb or not achieving enough or look ugly or doing everything wrong or any other type of harsh judgment that you wouldn't say to a best friend or someone that you care about, but you say it to yourself in your head all the time. Many of us are guilty of these thought habits that over time diminish our confidence, our light, our willingness to show up in the world, and they become these deeper and deeper ingrained habits of thinking about ourselves. So how do we change this? How do we change these negative self-thoughts? First, I suggest that you write it down to kind of make it official. Just write it down for yourself to make it real on a piece of paper. This Lent, I'm giving up harsh negative thoughts about myself. That's it. That's step number one. And then number two, just pay attention. Pay attention to your inner dialogue, how you talk to yourself, what you say when you look in the mirror, or what you say to yourself when you make a mistake or feel embarrassed about something, or something you say or do doesn't turn out the way you hope. Just notice your thoughts in those times. And then thirdly, ask yourself, is this how I would talk to a friend? Just notice and ask. And then lastly, acknowledge that that was a pretty mean thing that you just said about yourself. And that's it. That's what I'm suggesting for Lent this year. And notice none of these 4 steps say explicitly to stop having critical thoughts, because just stopping our thoughts is pretty impossible. There's that old example of, don't think about a pink elephant, and then that's all you can think about. So it's kind of the same thing with this. But if we notice our thoughts, we pay attention to them, and we notice how we talk to ourselves, then over time, there is a shift. A shift begins away from harsh judgment of ourselves and into self-acceptance and self-confidence. And here's the thing, it turns out that the more critical we speak to ourselves, the harsher we are to ourselves, the more judgmental we tend to be of other people too. So it's time to let all that go. or at least start those steps towards letting that go. So I have another idea, suggestion for Lent, and I put it in the February Messenger, which is doing a regular examen practice. So you can do it as a family if you live with your family every night of Lent, sharing with each other what was most life-giving, what was most life-draining in your day. No need to turn it into an in-depth conversation or problem solving. Simply listen to each other, share those moments. And you can even make it special by lighting a candle, or turning off the lights and lighting a candle or something when you do it. If you're like me and you live alone, you can just do the practice alone. And then also, I am going to start offering pretty soon, a weekly or maybe every other week, a real short community Zoom examen practice. And we won't actually share aloud with each other. And so the whole thing will just take about 10, 12 minutes, where I'll just kind of lead us in a reflection and examen practice. And even though we won't actually be sharing with each other, just kind of holding that space together as we do that can still be a powerful, prayerful kind of experience. So stay tuned and keep an eye out for that. And then in the meanwhile, Judson, receive a blessing from the faith community who loves you. May you have a Lenten season that replenishes you and restores you and gives you a new kind of hope as we move into spring and Easter. And may you be well. Amen.